The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.
Welcome back to another Keefer and Curry. He is Kip Keefer. I'm Tony Curry. Kip on the left side. I'm on the right side here. We do a show every single week where we talk about whatever the hell we want. It's kind of like our TV show, Kip. We do our Saturday morning thing, 10:30, 11 o'clock, starting the lineup. And you know, sometimes we have special guests. We certainly do have special guests coming up this next Thursday. We're getting ready for college football. But when football starts, two big things are going to happen. First of all, we're going to have the 4K winning podcast show. You want some great plays, and we go back. I think we were 27-6 is the number that I came up with by going back and looking at all. You can look at our YouTube channel. Go look at the starting lineup with Keefer and Curry, and you can see exactly what our plays were. They're all up there. They're all documented. We were 26-7 or 27-6, one of those two. Then we had Kai Gregory, who's going to be part of this, and of course, he went 9-0 one particular week. So we're going to have our own show along with Case. We'll be throwing in his free stuff every single week, and we'll have plays for you throughout the football season. And like you said, and we talked about coming up tomorrow morning on Saturday when you'll see our show, we believe there's a lot of great value in over-unders this year, particularly in the SEC. There's a lot of value. If you just do your homework and look, we've done it for you, but if you just do your homework, you can realize there are some situations where you can certainly make a two-bet prop, and there's no way you can lose both sides. You may lose one and break even, but anytime I get a chance to go 2-0 instead of 1-1, I'll take it. So we'll have that going on. I wanted to talk some rock and roll with you today, though.
Oh, okay.
Can we do that? Because I love talking music with you. Anytime anyone goes to your Facebook page, you will recite a lot of poetry and words, if you will, from particular songs that you like. And of course, a lot of it is your own poetry, which I think is very
it's just kind of therapeutic for me. I like to I like to cite passages from songs that I really like because I'm a lyrics guy. So I'm not real happy with the modern music where there seems to be like if there's a dozen lyrics in a song, that's a lot. You know, it's repetitive and it's beat and all that's great, but I really don't need to shake my ample backside. I'd rather hear great poetry and great music and things I can relate to.
I'm going to throw out 5 different things that are happening in rock and roll, and I just want to get your thoughts on them, and then you can expand because I know I can throw anything at you, and you're going to have a story about it. But August 1st in rock and roll history was one of these days where it's just, I mean, everything lined up perfectly. For example, August 1st, and we're doing the show on August 2nd, August 1st, 30 years ago, which of course was 1994, the Rolling Stones kicked off their Voodoo Lounge tour. August 1st, 50 years ago, back in 1974, Pete Townsend and Keith Moon joined Eric Clapton on stage at the Omni Coliseum. Unbeknownst to him, by the way, and just totally trashed every instrument he had up on stage. He had just gotten done coming out with an album. Then 55 years ago, which would be 1969 on August 1st, a band called Jethro Tull released their first album called Stand Up. Do you remember? Were you a Jethro Tull fan?
I got into him a little bit later on. Yeah, definitely, though. I mean, just an iconic band.
Do you remember hearing there's 2 bands back in the 70s that for some reason I remember hearing them, and I remember thinking to myself, these bands sound so differently than any other band on the radio right now. And that was Jethro Tull. I remember hearing Thick as a Brick, and I remember hearing the entire version. It's like 10 minutes long. And I thought, wow, I've never heard a flute so relevant. And I chanced to meet Ian Anderson at Lynn Park several years back for City Stages, and he's a germaphobe. You cannot shake his hand, and I got him to sign a CD for me. That and you could always tell, and you go way back. Okay, I'm talking back before Peter Cetera was the main thing. But Chicago was another one of those bands where every time I heard Chicago, it was so distinctive because they had a trombone in their band.
The horns in Chicago songs are just phenomenal,
unbelievable. And then 45 years ago on August 1st. James Taylor played a concert before 250,000 people in Central Park.
Wow.
And of course, that was only matched by Simon and Garfunkel in 1991 when they came out. And of course, a lot of people said it was closer to 45,000. They're like, no, it was 250,000. And then on top of those 4 things happening all on August 1st in history, we have a movie opening, and it actually sneaked last night, although they weren't sneaking the movie to anyone of our likeness. It was only for private people because, and when they say they don't sneak a movie, that means the movie sucks, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't want people to get the Rotten Tomatoes thing. By the way, it has scored 44% of Rotten Tomatoes. The M. Night Shyamalan movie called Trap, which is all about a concert scene. And I once you see The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, which I thought were two great movies, and of course Bruce Willis in both those movies, you just assume that every single movie he comes out with is going to be like The Sixth Sense, and there will never be a movie like that again. It'll never happen.
I think he's pretty much struck out since then. Yeah.
So 44% of Rotten Tomatoes for this movie Trap, and I am of the inklage of when I see something. I've never seen a movie about something horrible happening inside of a concert stage. And again, I don't know what the movie's about. I'm assuming they're blocking off the exits, and it just seems like a great premise for a great movie, right? Because you've got 18,000 people at a concert. It's really loud. So gunfire could be going off. There could be killings on the floor and no one would even know it because, people are moshing and everything else. And now with obviously Taylor Swift playing before sold out shows every single night, more people are going to concerts now than we ever have in the history of concert going. And then there's a movie about something horrible happening inside. It's almost like what was the movie where there was a shooting inside the movie theater, and then actually there was an actual shooting inside a movie theater. Was it the Batman movie?
There were a couple right after that.
And it just scares me a little bit because we are a copycat society. I realize it's just a movie. But it does scare the crap out of me, the idea of going to a concert and knowing, quite frankly, there's no way to get out. There's no possible way to get out. But I wanted to throw those four things. If you got any take on any of those things, and of course, the movie, if you're into movies at all, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, which I want to go see, called Trap. Any thoughts on those things?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Trap. I'm sitting here, my mind's kind of spinning of the implications of that because
there's been a million commercials out for it. It's promoted all over television, by the way.
Okay, because I for some reason I haven't come across it, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's up with that. It is, I guess, a predictable direction to go if you're going to make a movie like that, because that environment is so wild anyway that if you had somebody on a rampage there, once it became recognizable, and if exits were blocked or whatever the premise is going to be, that's a pretty rough situation. Because even in a movie theater scenario, that's a terrible place for any kind of mass event like that, because again, it's dark and you're not really in an area where you can easily get up and get out of there, or even really seek cover very well. So that's a scary proposition, and I'll echo your concern. You really don't want to have that happen. I guess there was, of course, the incident at an Ariana Grande concert just a couple of years ago somewhere in England, I think in London. But I think that was right after the show. And those were like explosive devices, but that's the only incident at a concert I can think of, except for, and this was actually an opera, but it's a concert, I guess. Mm-hmm. There was I can't pronounce it. It's one of the blow off countries of the Russians, Kyrgyzstan or whatever. Yeah. They had terrorists wipe out 150 people at an opera recently in Moscow. You don't think of Russians being targets of terror attacks. So, I mean, there have been incidents of that kind. And of course, part of the Palestinian deal on October 7th that has sparked this war in Israel was at a musical concert or outside event also. So there have been some mass incidents in the actual news in recent months.
Talk about the one, and by the way, Josh Hartnett, great actor, is actually in this trap movie.
Hartnett's good.
He's really good. He plays the main purpose. But I mean, what about 53 people killed in Las Vegas at the outdoor concert?
Yeah, they were at a country music show.
And we still don't know what the motive was behind that, do we?
That guy, Tony, that's one of the most complex shooters ever, because this guy was staying at Mandalay Bay, which was it. I mean, I actually was on the air at that time. I had my own show on 99.5 here in Birmingham, and I was going to Las Vegas. I actually did a radio program standing right at the front gate of that park that was all secured. Wow. This was about a month after that incident, but I was looking right at the vantage point of the shooter, which was, and that's why the assassination attempt on President Trump, it's amazing from 130 yards, but he was only shooting at one guy. That guy was at least 500 yards from that event, looking across the street to Mandalay Bay. But that guy was in Mandalay Bay on a comp. He was such a high level player of video poker, of all things, that this guy had a sweet comp and was a VIP guest at a lot of places in Vegas. But, I've done a lot of research on him. The guy was just such an arrogant elitist, thinking that he was better and smarter than other people. And I guess something just pushed him to the point where he was going to show his superior intelligence and superiority over mere human beings by creating this mass horrible murder. 50 some odd people just innocently at a concert. I think Aldean was on stage at the time.
Jason Aldean,
but yeah, this is one of the more mysterious mass shootings of all time, because this guy had money and means and a VIP guest of Las Vegas, and he becomes a mass murderer. Unbelievable story.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, and I knew that you were going to take it down a road that I was going to discuss, because despite the morbidity of what we're talking about here. For the most place, churches you feel safe at. We know you can't feel safe at churches. Concerts, I always feel safe at concerts, and now you really can. I'll go back to December 3rd, 1979, Cincinnati Coliseum. My brother was at that Who concert that 11 people got trampled and killed.
Unbelievable.
And the Who.
And that was just going to try to get better seats, right? I mean, that was like open the doors and the mad scramble deal, right?
The Who was playing their sound check around 6:30. And the show was supposed to start at 7, and everyone thought the show had started. And so they started pushing, and they hadn't opened the doors, and those 11 people died on the way in. People went in for the entire concert. They didn't know what was going on. I mean, 11 people got killed outside. And then when my brother was leaving the concert, he could see the blood and the carnage and the clothing and the police officers and the ambulances. He's like, what the hell happened? They're like, on the way into the show, 11 people got trampled on the way into the show. And of course, therefore, after that, no more festival seating. You rarely see festival seating unless, of course, you're talking about an amphitheater where you have, like a pit or something. But for the most part, you just don't see general admission, not for indoor concerts like that anymore. Outdoor stuff, sure. But yeah, it was ironic because my brother Jeff, who doesn't matter what he's doing, he's always going to get he could have sex with 99 women, and the one woman he doesn't wear a condom with, she's going to get pregnant. It's just the way he is, and I love him for it. But we had a police officer come to our house. I'll never forget, because I was sick from school that day, and a cop shows up with my brother. And in the middle of the afternoon, and they're like, Dick Kurre, is this your son? He's like, yes. And he goes, well, we caught him downtown, buying Who tickets for a Who concert. And he skipped school. And so obviously my dad took the belt out and laid it into him and grounded him and said that not only are you grounded, but you're not going to that Who concert. Well, my brother, of course, it's like, bullshit, I'm going to that Who concert. Which happened, I guess, about a month later, crawls out our bedroom window and has a buddy of his pick him up in the back of the house, and they're down at the Who concert. And my dad's hearing about how 11 people got killed and then goes back and wants to tell, son, I'm really glad you didn't go to that concert because 11 people got killed tonight. And he's got one of my mom's wigs on top of his pillow to make it look like he's sleeping on the upper bunk. And my dad was so pissed off. He's like, where the hell? And of course, we didn't have cell phones. All you could think of was, did he die? And of course, my brother comes rocking in at 2:00 in the morning, drunk off his ass. So yeah, not a great who situation. But yeah, you listen, we live in this crazy world. Sometimes I don't think it's as crazy as we think it is.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. For all the mental incapacitation we have, for all the depression we have, for with the gun laws we have, with the AR-17, for all the things that could create an absolute nightmare in this country, unlike a lot of the countries where you can't even get a gun or you have to serve in the military first or whatever, we don't have a lot of like Vegas style shootings in this country. And people are like, you're crazy. We've had 400 mass shootings. A mass shooting is 4 or more people. And I'm not saying one's too many. Don't get me wrong. But considering what we have access to and what we see on the screens and how easy it is to take out all these people in a field.
Oh, sure.
It makes you wonder. It scares the hell out of you a little bit. Because if you're just going for mass carnage, you're obviously not showing up at a church with 35 people in it. You're going to the Mall of America, or you're in. And again, I don't want to give anyone any ideas. So the idea that this world's gone crazy and everyone's a knucklehead and an idiot, and again, we just saw it with the Donald Trump situation a couple of weeks ago. And that shouldn't have happened either. But yeah, it's just amazing. But that's one of those movies where, I just hope someone doesn't get some harebrained idea of, oh, that's a great idea to be at a concert, because that's one place where you actually feel safe. You always feel good at a concert. Now, I've been to some pretty good concerts where there's been people like bad mosh pits, like people are actually getting the shit kicked out of them. Like they're actually punching each other and stuff. And it's go time. It's like, if you want to be part of that, you jump in. If you don't, you back out. The concerts were so different back then. So,
Tony, it's funny because one of our cohorts now, my son Case, was really kind of a hardcore fan when he was in high school and in before he was into his early 20s. He went to all of those shows and he didn't really call it. It was called hardcore dancing, but it was basically just like you said. It was just slamming into people. Case was a highly recruited football player in the mosh pit with probably some 140-pound weeklings. I met bodies flying, and he'd come home looking like he'd just been in an intense workout. But I always worried about the insanity of those things. You talk about a great dad. He was only like 12 or 13 and he already wanted to go see, I don't know, one of the hardcore concerts, the band that had Freak on a Leash. I can't think of their name right away. But anyway, I said, well, you're not going by yourself. So I witnessed some things that night that I'd never, I've been going to concerts for years. I said, I'll go to a concert. I'll sit in the upper deck. I don't care, because he wanted to be down there where the action was. I saw things that shocked me. It's kind of a funny thing, but he went to music festival, went to Ozfest at different places of the country, went to different hardcore and other shows. So he survived it, but the environment is a lot different than and now I don't know if a lot of that's still going on, but that was really a big thing at that time. And Case Keefer, of all people, was right in the middle of it.
I think it's gotten a lot more mainstream.
I think so.
Much like, the bands, the Eagles, trash in hotel rooms. We just don't have that anymore. I talked to Jay Wilson, who of course is with Tour Designs, and he does all kinds of stuff with New Era and he used to be with New Era and now Red Mountain Entertainment, and
right.
And he's now with Live Nation. And he talks about, the green room things and all the M&Ms and this, that, and the other, and the bands, what the bands used to want, and they have to worry about them trashing, embassy suites and stuff like that. It's just not like that anymore. They just,
Vince Neil. Have you read the Motley Crue book?
They just come. We could talk about Led Zeppelin, Hammer of the Gods, the shark story, right? Which is the most notorious groupie story of all time, which is true, by the way. I've actually heard it from Robert Plant's lips. But it's one of those situations where, it is modified itself and generalized itself to the point where, anyone should feel pretty comfortable. Now, there was a rap concert that was supposed to be at Oak Mountain Amphitheater about a month and a half ago. And my son was asking if I knew someone from Live Nation, and I do, and asked me if I could get tickets to it. And I haven't been to a rap concert. I mean, if you go, we were on Fox 6 yesterday talking about Snoop Dogg. Here's a dude that, got accused of killing somebody, and smoking pot and paying someone $60,000 a year to smoke his joint, and here we are, and he's walking around with the Olympic torch.
He's the most mainstream guy.
He's the most
Snoop
mainstream
Dogg
guy.
is one of the most fascinating characters in the country, Tony, because this is a guy. You mentioned a couple of his transgressions there. He also was host on 2 different programs on the Playboy channel with that were really explicit shows, and now he's like America's spokesperson. He's completely remarketed himself into this mainstream character. Case got to know, back to Case again. His kid went to the same, to like one of the really upper crust high school football programs out in Las Vegas. And Snoop was trying to groom him for a scholarship, and the kid just really wasn't good enough to get one. But Case said, he to talk to, he's Mr. Mainstream now, and look at, he endorses everything. I mean, there's not a more interesting guy in the country than Snoop.
I wore my Snoop Dogg Skechers yesterday. He is the most endorsable person in this country right now.
It's incredible.
Shaquille O'Neal would be number 2. And by the way, I just saw his Epsom ink commercial. Now Shaquille O'Neal selling Epsom ink. I'm like, what? I mean, they're putting him on everything, and I still can't understand a damn thing he says when he's on TNT.
Well, it's funny, on the NBA pregame show with Barkley and Ernie Johnson and Kenny Smith, Barkley gives him unlimited abuse about being willing to endorse anything,
including Subway, and they're both doing that.
Chuck is now all over Subway, but the one he was really giving him, but the ridiculous half-ass insurance company, and I won't mention them in case, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but there's one of those that had a cartoon character as like the spokesperson, and Shaq started appearing on those, for like cut rate auto insurance. Probably paying him $300 to do it.
Yes.
Shaq will take any gig.
It's funny because when Charles Barkley was in the NBA and he's sitting there playing with the Philadelphia 76ers, and I think his best year was like $750,000 or something. I don't know what it was. I don't think it was $1 million yet. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, that kind of money is just unbelievable. You retire, you get out, you think to yourself, okay, I've met my match. I'm never going to make that type of money again, because you were in the NBA, right? Now he's making $35 million a year.
Unbelievable.
He's got more money to piss away than he's ever had in his life. And you're thinking to yourself, that's how life changes, right? He wasn't in the NBA in the last 25 years. And you're thinking to yourself, you would make the most money, while you're at your sport, where you can make $10, $15 million a year. And that money just now, I forget who was with the Cleveland Cavaliers the other night, signed a max deal, 3 or $70 million. I don't even know who the hell the guy is. A $70 million deal. It's like Major League Baseball. Utility guys are making $6, $7 million a year, and they don't even play every night.
It's the best. It's the best sports league to be in, because there's only 10 or 11 guys on each team. The contracts, the TV money is so massive that, with not a lot of guys to spread it around to, everybody makes tens of millions of dollars.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. Hey, great stuff, man. I'm looking forward. Hopefully we'll be making that kind of money with ABC 3340. We're working hard. I know you've been, now. I know you. Hey, listen, I know you've been working your back end on making that thing the slickest and best looking TV show on television. I'm very, very proud and grateful to be part of that. The Keefer and Kurre starting lineup show on ABC 3340. We're going to have a fantastic. We got all kinds of new clients that are going to be coming on board. It's going to be great. You're going to be getting your first ever massage live have on the show coming up in a couple of weeks. We have the Glass Panda on. We have the Woodhouse Day Spa on. We have Spy for Rent on. Paul Feinbaum, who just got his new extension. He's been on the show. James Spann, Tim Brando. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun already. And I will say this, we record that on Thursdays. Man, that is the fastest 30 minutes of the week. That show flies by. It's unbelievable how quick
it really
that thing
does.
But
it really does. If you've seen the show, we appreciate your viewership. But starting on August 31st, we're really going to have a great lead in because the kickoff, the new ABC ESPN contract will be the exclusive home of SEC football.
Yes,
the new SEC, adding Texas and Oklahoma. It's going to be the greatest season ever, and we are on 10:30 on Saturday mornings. Kickoff for the first game, which in the first week this year is going to be Georgia and Clemson, and Alabama will be featured in that window frequently, Auburn. So a lot of the local teams, all the SEC teams, but we are the very last 30 minutes leading up to kickoff, and we are going to have a fast-paced, information-filled, always entertaining show. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great, and we're super blessed to have that spot, and they love us. We came on last football season, did a nice job. They came back to us and said, listen, we love having you guys on, and we want to continue to do it. So maybe we can turn that into a five day a week kind of thing, because we are pretty good at what we do. And we got a lot of people. Yeah, we the legend. He's a knucklehead. I mean, he brings his own carnies in, and certainly Terry does a great job. And your son's been picking out as you know what. Certainly in the golf courses, he's been fantastic.
Oh man, he's on fire.
So you get a little bit of everything. So greatly appreciate it. All right, man. I'll check you out on Saturday morning. Until next week, my friend. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Tony. Enjoyed it. Have a great week, everybody.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.